thought the guys did a nice job, players and coaches, of communicating, making necessary adjustments at the half and finding our rhythm in the second half, getting necessary stops and possessing the ball. So it was a lot to be proud of in terms of the effort. It was good to get Anthony McFarland involved. I thought just our utilization of all the backs was a good element of play for us. The defense didn't blink, man. We gave up some possessions early, and sometimes that can put a bad taste in your mouth, but they didn't allow it to spoil the day. They just played one snap at a time, and we were able to get some significant stops in the second half. I thought their turnover by Mike Hilton was enormous. From an injury standpoint, Derek Watt has a hamstring. Deontay Johnson has a concussion. The rest are just bumps and bruises associated with play. I'm sure I'll update you guys on Tuesday. Questions?
Joe Rudder.
Yeah, Mike, what did you guys specifically do to stop Watson in the second half?
You know, we mixed some things up with our coverages, and we rushed a little bit differently. He was finding escape lanes, not necessarily in an effort to run, but in an effort to buy time and break some of our zone coverages down and find open spaces. And so we made minor technical adjustments to both the rush and the coverage, and I think that was the difference.
Mark Caboli.
Mike, like you said, a lot more zone coverage today. Is that basically because of Watson and his ability to potentially, pull down the ball and run with some defensive backs back to the ball?
You know, you play man-to-man versus this guy on possession downs. He could run for 100 yards himself on you. And so we just thought with guys having vision to break, it could help the rush if he was able to escape, and it benefited us some today. But that's just the method that we chose today. He's got special talents. He presents unique challenges. And so we did what we had to do to win the game.
Jerry Dulac.
Hey, Mike, you mentioned the other day you liked the trajectory of the run game because you were able to close out games with it in the first two. You did it again today. How important has that been for you guys?
You know, it's been critical, man, because all these games are close, man. Everything in the National Football League, man, is a one-score game. So your ability in the waning moments to possess the ball and not put your defense back in harm's way, to win the critical possession downs via the run or run-like action. I can't say enough about what Ben was able to do in some of those short yardage situations. We did supplement the run with some quick RPO passing game that allowed us to sustain drives and possess the ball. So I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that as well.
Brooke Pryor.
Coach, you mentioned Anthony McFarland there in your opening statement. What told you this week that he was ready to be more involved in the game plan? He was inactive the first week and didn't play last week. Why was he ready to step up in this moment?
He was ready last week. That's why we had the hat on him. Sometimes game circumstances doesn't allow certain roles to develop or, things of that nature. We like the overall trajectory of his game. He's been working hard and practicing hard and having professional detail in his work. And so we had trust in his abilities. And so it was good to get him in the mix. He brings a different skill set than maybe some of the others, and I think they complement each other well.
Mike Pursuta.
Mike, you mentioned your defense hung in there after a tough first half. What allows the group to do that? What's it say about your coaching and your players?
You know, we made some adjustments, and more than anything, I like the group's ability to adjust and to communicate in the midst of it. There wasn't a lot of blink in the group. They absorbed the necessary adjustments, and sometimes that's necessary. People are going to have good plans. They work too. And so we had to do some adjusting, and really I just kudos to the coaches and those guys for communicating and not blinking in the midst of some of those things that has to transpire when those things happen.
Dale Lawley.
Mike, you mentioned earlier mixing up the backs a little bit and getting everybody some touches in the first half, but in the second half, it was mostly James in there. Could you feel him kind of starting to exert his will a little bit and helping you in that running game like that?
Well, James is our featured runner. I've mentioned that repeatedly. It doesn't mean that we won't play others, but it does mean as we distribute carries and particularly as we find our rhythm in the game, usually that would include him unless somebody else has an unusual hot hand. And we don't care who gets the credit or who makes the plays. That's just the approach that we take.
Tim Benz.
Mike, I was wondering if we can get a comment from you about the contributions of your tight ends. And was that something that you saw potentially being a focal point for the offense this week coming into this contest?
I'll probably get another 7 days before you guys ask me about Ebron, I would imagine. No, we're going to utilize all our eligibles. It's important that we have a balanced group, that we can run it, we can throw it, that we have a variety of people to throw it to. We like the versatility of the group, the specialization of the group, and it allows us to move the ball fluidly.
Couple more. Jeff Hathorn.
Mike, you mentioned the third and fourth and shorts and throws. Is that just a matter of putting the ball in your best player's hand, and is it difficult to call passes in what has traditionally been a running situation?
Well, if they go zero, I mean, they were going open field, goal line defense and things of that nature. You can't run the ball into that. So, we had some RPO options. We trust Ben. We trust our run game. We're not going to allow people to cheat to that extent where they got a goal line defense and open grass. We'll do what we got to do to win the down.
Will Graves.
Mike, what is it about Hilton that makes him such a noticeable contributor each week on defense?
He's just a tough little football player. He's a football player first, a nickel second. He's good in the run game. He's solid in the passing game as well, and that provides a platform for him to be noticed in a variety of spaces.
Last one. Alan Saunders, go ahead.
Mike, did you think something changed? We were talking to TJ, and he said that first half to second half, they weren't getting to the quarterback as much. What did you see in your pass rush?
In our pass rush? I'm sorry, I don't understand your question.
Yeah. Did you think your pass rush was able to get home in the second half better than it did in the first half?
Like I mentioned earlier, we made some minor adjustments, not significant ones, and I just thought it was a difference. And oftentimes that is the case. It's not dramatic things. It's not things that we can talk openly about in this setting and maybe you guys appreciate, but it's necessary adjustments for us. We did what was necessary, and we're able to close the door on them more consistently in the second half.
All right. Thank